All right, we have enough for a quorum. In your packet, you see the meeting that we had on January 13th, the minutes. As you read through them, those that were here, do you see any necessary for changes? Everything looks correct? I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion made to approve. Any second? Tom Shea, second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. On our agenda, you get the discussion items. And what I'd like to do is, Mayor, if you don't mind, can you go over the MOU and the job description like you did in the first meeting for the new members?
Well, we entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Sumner County Veteran Service Office to provide our VSO services here in the county. We do provide them a daily rate of, if it's the assistant, it's $250 a day. If it is the director rate, it's $350 a day. We have provided them with an office equipment, and everything allowed to do that. We actually do that kind of near the mayor's office. They use what used to be the Debbie Jenkins office. It doesn't really have anybody in there full time, so we rotate that out if we have them from coming in from insurance to sign up people during open enrollment or anything like that, or anybody needs to use office space. That's where we put them at. If you're looking at the memorandum of understanding, if you look at page 2, that's where you really have that starting on sub item 1 or I there. That's when it really goes through what Sumner County's responsibilities are. So as a 1 day a month, they'll establish office hours and provide advocacy services to service members and veterans and their families. Office hours from 8:30 to 4. There is a lunch hour, and there's another day per month consisting of outreach activities. This will be going to any assisted living facilities. I think she's gone to the funeral home, any groups that may have veterans there with them, and kind of talk to them about what the veteran services can offer and VA benefits just as a whole. Some of the organizations I got listed here as examples are TCAD Hartsville, American Job Center, nursing homes, assisted living facilities, funeral homes, and other veteran services organizations. They do provide a monthly report by the 15th of each month to my office, and we've included in your packet here, there should be the most recent report. And our responsibilities are to provide them a good and clean facility to come into, office equipment and all those things, and we have done that. This memorandum of understanding is effective for 1 year, and it was the date of the time the last party signed it, and I signed it after approval by the county commission on November 23rd, 2021. So November 23rd, 2022 would be the expiration date of this memorandum of understanding. And the job description, if you flip a little bit further into your packet, you'll see it's highlighted or it's bolded in blue. It says Hartsville-Trousdale County Metropolitan Government Job Description. This was put together by the consultant firm that we hired to do the county's compensation study. They did a job description for every position and kind of updated some of the ones we already had. And it goes through and lists some of their job description as assist veterans and their dependents in applying for federal benefits with the Department of Veterans Affairs, initiating or reopening claims. Now, these claims can include health benefits, death benefits, such as life insurance, burial allowances, or survivor benefits, VA home loan benefits, and disability benefits or others. They would also assist disabled or handicapped veterans or their dependents with facilitation of daily life activities by coordinating installation of modifications to their home or automobiles, such as wheelchair ramps, bathroom modifications, etc. They'll attend workshops and seminars and conferences to keep up to date on the latest federal, state laws and regulations, advise veterans and their dependents on services from Social Security and other agencies and obtaining benefits, regularly visit local veterans organizations, provide their members with current information on benefits. They will prepare and maintain the annual budget for the Veterans Affairs Office and maintain office inventory and replenishing supplies as necessary. And knowledge and skills and knowledge required are the knowledge of federal, state, and local legislation, rules, regulations relating to veterans benefits and applicable court decisions, have a working knowledge of VA claims and appeal practices and procedures, organizations and activities of the Veterans Administration or other veteran agencies, organizations, interviewing and canceling techniques, ability to employ discretion and maintain confidentiality, ability to greet visitors and colleagues in a friendly and courteous manner, ability to work independently and identify and solve problems, ability to organize and prioritize work, ability to establish and maintain effective working relationships with coworkers, other organizations, and the general public, and have to have an intermediate proficiency in Microsoft Word and Excel is preferred. As far as education and experience, to be a high school diploma or equivalent is required. Also, 1 to 2 years of experience is preferred. And also have to participate in veteran service officer training. As far as license certificates, the only thing they had required was a valid driver's license, though I do understand they have to go through training to be a veteran service officer, and that is in the previous education and experience line. And then it just kind of comes some of the work environment, you know, sitting at a desk, working on a computer for long periods of time, been able to lift 15 pounds, using typical office equipment, phones, computers, calculators, and whatnot. And the office as it currently is only one person, so there is no supervisory authority to that position. So that's kind of just a brief overview of the memorandum of understanding and the job description, and I can answer any questions any of the members may have.
Any questions for the mayor?
Just curious, how many applicants have you had thus far?
For talking about the VAs coming in to get assistance,
Yes.
there's a report in your packet. I can't remember. I think it's, if you look at the memorandum of understanding, as soon as you get past the memorandum of understanding, there's the most recent report that was prepared, and it has it broken down by month. As you can see, in January, there were 3 office interviews, had 1 email sent, 2 phone calls, 3 claims filed. And as far as working on forms or uploads or communications, there was 34 total. And there was a training activity. And in February, there were 5 office interviews, 3 emails sent, 9 phone calls, 5 claims filed, and dealt with 29 forms, uploads or communications. Did go to saw 2 veterans in a assisted living facility and 1 veteran that was unfortunately at the funeral home. Responded to 1 DD 214 request and participated in another training activity. And then March, in-office interviews were 10, emails 9, phone calls 2, claims filed with 1, dealing with forms, uploads, communications, those activities was 22. Did not see any veterans in the assisted living, funeral homes, in homes, or at the VFW. Responded to 1 DD 214 request and had another training activity. And most of these in-office interviews, you know, it's just down the hall from me, and they're not in and out things. They're there for quite a while. So we have had a couple of times, especially in February, where we actually had to create a sign-in sheet and put it out in the hallway and let them sign in. And then they kind of sit in the little lobby area out by the mayor's office and then came in. I think there's one time we had at least two veterans and their families waiting to get in. So, and plus the one in our office. So we had 3 in the office at that time. And it seems to be usually around 10 to lunch seems to be the busiest time so far.
Thank you, Mayor. So to really get to the point of all this, first we got to answer the question, do we need a VSO, a Veteran Service Officer in Trousdale County? By show of hands, who says yes, we do? Anybody say we don't? Okay. The next question would be, is how are we going to have it? Are we going to continue with the MOU with Sumner County? Or are we going to get the mayor to advertise and go ahead and hire is it part-time 20 hours, Mayor?
Yes, sir. I think federal requirement is they have to do 20 hours a week. So it'd be a part-time position at this point.
And if you look further in your package, you'll see where it's got the pay. Step 1, $16.47 an hour. Step 16 is $23.25. So as they're there after years, they'll get to that point. Right now, the current budget is $18,608 a year to have Trousdale County have a service officer. So the next question I would ask is, do we want to continue with the MOU with Sumner County or go ahead and reach out? I think there's 2 or 3 that we've shown interest so far.
Two that I can remember off the top of my head, and there was another gentleman that I don't remember his name that came in and spoke to the Miss Gallion, the VSO officer, about kind of what the responsibilities were and what training would be required. So I would say 3 total.
Okay, so then the next question would be, do we want to have the MOU or actually try to hire and get a permanent VSO? Because right now it's 1 day a month, really, is what they see veterans. So you're looking at less than 8 hours, where if we had one permanent, it would be 20 hours a week, provide more services. So for those that want to keep the MOU, raise your hand. Yes, sir.
I just have some questions. Before we decide, how well is this working? Have we had complaints that that this is not adequate, or does this seem to be serving our needs? I question the 1 day, 2 days a month as being enough, but I certainly never was in objection to having someone felt it's better for us to have our own. But I just wondered how this was working out. I mean, we've got 3 months under our belt now,
Right.
and I can't help but ask that question. How well does it seem to be working?
And with that question, Mayor, do we have any numbers on yearly, what it would cost to have the MOU at the $350 rate and everything else that's on there?
Well, if you use, I'll just do 350 times, let's see, it's 2 days. If you use the director's rate, which would be $350, say 2 days a month, that's 24 days a year, that's $8,400. And as far as any issues, I haven't had any complaints about that. Now and it seems to be working out. All the ones that's been in their office so far, I've tried to talk to them when they leave, and they've all been happy with the services they received. So I haven't had any complaints on that front. How's it working out? There has been a couple of times. I think there was 3 times when there was a day she was supposed to be here, but we had a snowstorm that shut down the administration building. Then we had ice one time that shut down the administration building. And then when we had the electrical issue that blew out and they had to close the building to fix that, that was another day she was supposed to be there. So there's 3 days we lost due to those issues that, either the administration building was completely closed and no one was there that day. So unfortunately, those just fell just right to hit that. So those numbers you're looking at sometimes it's just 1 day a month due to those issues popping up. But again, like I said, I haven't received any complaints. Maybe some of you all have received some, I haven't. And the ones I've talked to, most of them have come in with their families, wives, children, something like that. And when I've talked to them afterward, they've all been very pleased with the services they've been receiving.
Thank you. The only comments I've had was the 1 day a month. Some people can't come, that 1 day a month. That need to be more additional time. Do you think it's something that they would be able to do if could they go to a weekly or twice a month or more of a schedule? Was that ever discussed with them?
It was discussed, and with the growth in Sumner County, they're actually looking to add to their staff right now. Of course, that's going through their budget process, and I don't know whether it's going to come out right now. And so there was we discussed it, but it was kind of dependent on what they do with their staffing in Sumner County. So I can't tell you right now, yes, we are going to be able to do that or not until some of those decisions are made there.
If that happened to White, like if they were here 2 days a week, we'd go from 8,000 and something to probably 16, 17,000, which is still probably about 6 hours short of the 18,000. So it's kind of almost same. I know for a lot of veterans, some of us still work, and that 8 to 4:30 don't cut it all the time when it's 1 day and 1 day only a month, where if you had somebody in there for 20 hours a week, you may or may not be able to adjust your schedule to go see them if they're there more. Amber being the previous one, did you see when you first started a good need for us to have one or keep going to 1 day a week? What's your opinion on that?
I definitely think that there's a need for one because I also worked a full-time job at the hospital, I didn't feel like I was able to give it everything that it needed. Like there's many things, you know, that if you take from training that you bring back to your hometown that you'd be able to do for veterans. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to do all of those things. But you do have people that when they find out that we're here, which was one of the things, we didn't have one for so long. When I was, you know, approached by people that found out there's a VSO here, then they were, you know, very, very thankful. And, you know, unfortunately I met a lot of widows first. And, you know, that's how I got to know some of the veteran families here in the community, but I definitely think that there's a need for one.
Thank you. Moving just before I go back to that, to jump down, according to what we have right here on that one geographic report, there are 534 veterans in Trousdale County. That number always changes. It could be 400, it could be 700. How they come up with that number, I really don't know. It's probably, I think you mentioned one time, Mayor, how you thought they came up with it.
Well, I think actually in this document in here, it kind of says how they come up with it. And I believe it's based on, some of it is modeling based on demand that they've gotten from veterans inside that community. And I think it's based on some
Right.
2018 numbers. And as you see, this says FY20. So it's a couple of years out of date, but I think some of that is due to COVID and those offices being closed. So this information is at least a couple of years out of date, but some of it, like I said, is based on actual veterans using the services. And then they use the model to kind of project what that total number would be based on a percentage of how they thought that, a percentage that normally come out and access services as a percentage of veterans a whole in the community. I
Right.
think that's how they projected the number.
I'm sure they captured by VA loans or educational reimbursement type things. So again, what we're tasked for, our two main objective is, do we, oh, you're right.
So whenever I would get a veteran into VetRespect, which is the system for the VA, I had probably 80 to 90 veterans that would come to me with any problem that they had. So I know we have the numbers of what may or may not be in the county, but I know, you know, my base was full of 80 to 90 that I kept going. So I don't know if that helps you.
It does, good information. And again, our main objective, do we need one? We already said we did. So our next major question is, if we think we do we go MOU and keep doing what we're doing for the limited service? Or do we go with the $18,000 of literally taxpayers' money to have a veteran service officer here that is here more times to give a veteran more option? So I'm gonna ask that question, and I'll just ask like I did a while ago, who thinks we ought to stay with the MOU? Raise your hands. And I see none. Who thinks we ought to go about and have the mayor put out and solicit to hire a veteran service officer for Trousdale County? Raise your hands. Unanimous. Okay. So that's the way we're going to go. So Mayor, what do we need to do for you, or how do we go about, do we advertise that, or what's the county's procedure for that?
Well, given this will be the only person in that department, you'd have to advertise it for 2 weeks and take applications and then do interviews. And then you're going to have to see if they have training or not. Then you're going to have to get the training. And Rebecca Gallion from Sumner County said she would be willing to work with somebody and get them trained in if we wanted to go that route.
And she could probably give us the guidelines that we're looking for in a candidate, what the candidate would have to do once, if they were hired.
Yeah, they offered to help us out through the hiring process, and then maybe, you know, come when the time they're here, work with them, have them shadow them, and like go to the facilities and whatnot. And like I said, really kind of train them in until it got to the point where they could go on their own.
So at one time, we'd probably have a dual payment for, if she came to like twice, 2 months in a row to help train, we'd have to still pay according to the MOU. And if we hire somebody tomorrow, for example, do we have a get out of the MOU clause, or does it got to run for that full year?
Yeah, there's a termination clause that either party could terminate it at will. Just have to give them writing. And I can't remember if there's a timeline, but they indicated that from the get-go, this was to help us look and try to build a base, get data, and then see how to proceed going forward. So this was never intended to be a permanent thing, and that's why it was limited to 1 year. But the termination clause says the MOU can be terminated at will by either party with 30 days written notice. And so, like I said, she was willing to do a training period to help us get a transition there. So
Dwight?
I just wanted to say, I'm really thankful that we had this MOU from Sumner and that they were able to bridge the gap. And I really, you know, I have to appreciate the mayor's efforts in making that possible, because they have been able to help some people in this interim. And I feel like, knowing veteran service and having worked with veterans and the State Veterans Committee and things, I know that they're going to work very hard with us, trying to help us get someone trained and up to speed. I don't think they're just going to take their ball and go home, so to speak. But I certainly hope that won't be the case, and I really don't expect that to be the case. But we still don't know. We may put this out for someone, and when they find out the details of it, the pay, number of hours, they may decide that they can't do this just because they've been asking about it. So certainly we may be with this MOU even if we go through this other process. I just wanted everybody to know that it's not an automatic thing, that it could have some hitches going forward.
So from the committee, Mayor, what would you need from us to get that process going as far as trying to hire somebody?
I don't really need anything.
Who would do the interviews? Want a couple from the committee to come and do the interviews, or?
Well, I
how-
would try to set it up when Ms. Gallion's going to be here and let her help me with do the interviews.
Okay.
Given this is a position that reports directly to me.
Right.
It falls under me, but I would ask, set it up for a day, try to do it when you've got the advertising, the 2-week period, and then set the interviews up for a day when she's going to be there so she can help go through it and conduct the interviews and get her feedback on it, because she's very interested in making sure that however which direction we go, the veterans here are taken care of, and she indicated more than a willingness to help us through the process.
Good deal. That's what I kind of figured. That's what I wanted to know. Okay, so with that being said, then we'd have to wait till basically we get that VSO hired on to see how we can go from there, and then give it that VSO. Once that's hired on, though, basically this committee will pretty much end after probably 60, maybe 30, 60 days after they're hired on. Am I correct in that?
There was no set time that I remember. I think it was just to deal with this one specific issue.
I think it was written at my discretion to end the committee when felt like the business of the committee had been completed.
And I will say, one of the concerns was not having enough veterans come in to justify the 20 hours, but one of the things I'm going to look at is expanding, because I want them to start assisting in the criminal justice system. That's not something we've had much in the past. A lot of courts are starting to go to that. Some counties have created a veterans court all on its own. So I don't think we have enough coming through the criminal justice system here to require a standalone veterans court. However, there are services that can be brought. And as part of the task force I put together for mental health and substance abuse counseling, I've been talking to the VA, and they've got some mental health services and suicide prevention and whatnot. And I think they also said they would want to start doing more here inside the county. So I really want to start bringing some of those things together and have this person be that veterans contact for all these things here inside the county, and just make sure we have that as a kind of a holistic approach here. And that would be the person we have an issue that we go to.
And am I correct in the assumption that with the budget hearings coming up, that you will have in the budget hearing the $18,000 for this VSO officer?
Yeah, I think I haven't seen it exactly. Amy sent it to me after getting some numbers, but I imagine it's probably around this same amount. I don't see it being decreased. Now, we would have to look at what the new amount's going to be. So that, I think it was a little bit step up from what we were paying before. So that might be an adjustment on that pay side, but I think everything else will probably be about the same.
And then as it goes along and you want to reach out and do that more with the criminal justice system, all that would be a budget amendment if it happens in that fiscal year, correct?
It would depend. I really foresee this being take up some of that 20 hours. I don't think from the get-go you're going to have enough veterans coming in to actually spend 20 hours assisting veterans. I think there might be a little bit of time there for them to reach out, contact some of these courts that do that, try to see how those function. And I would like for them to work with the judges here and kind of see how they would foresee that going. It's going to be something we're going to have to piece together, but I would see some of that time being spent researching that, working with the courts, trying to structure something.
Also, there's a lot of veterans bills, a lot of money coming through from the state legislature. Whoever this person is, they ought to be versed in trying to pursue some of the grant opportunities and training opportunities are there. Certainly whoever it is in the beginning, a lot of their time is going to have to be not serving people, but learning how to serve people. So that I think will be an issue. Mayor, where do we see putting this office? Back here, letting it stay up at the administration? What's your thoughts on that?
For the time being, we could try to have it in administration building. We don't really have anybody in that office consistently right now, and working with Ms. Gallion, when she came down and looked at the courthouse versus administration building, she was very firm in saying, you're going to get more people willing to come to the administration building than you are the courthouse, because that's where they're used to going to pay bills and all this stuff anyway. So I think to get the best participation from your veteran community, it would need to be right now at the administration building. We do have the water department that will be moving out when their building is complete. We're going to be doing some moving around from other offices, and so we'll reevaluate that at the time. But right now, I think the 20 hours a week, we could probably use that office right now.
Good deal. Okay. Going on from the last minutes, one of the things we had was getting the emails of everybody to Amber, the secretary. So having given her email, please do before we leave, because that way when schedule changes, we don't have people showing up on Tuesday. I think we got a meeting and it's been postponed until Thursday. So we want to make sure that she has your email so we can do a blast on anything.
One of the initial questions, I'm sorry, one of the initial questions that was to be answered by this committee was also how many hours per week or per month or whatnot do we feel like it's going to take to do this job? Certainly we don't want to fund 20 hours a week and have someone sitting there twiddling their thumbs. You know, if 10 hours a week or 12 hours a week or 3 days, you know, 3 days instead of 5 or 3 half days, you know. So I think that's something that we need to be thinking about, looking at, as well as exactly not just what the duties, but what amount of time is required. I know we've got data from the wage study as to what this position should pay, but as far as how many hours a week, that's all over the board. I mean, some counties, like you say, it's full-time, some it's part-time, some it's barely part-time, and some is a staff of 2 or 3 or 4. So I think that's something that we need to look at going forward, is whether we think 20 hours is too much or not enough. I think it's a good start. I'm not arguing against it. I'm just saying that's one thing that we need to try to keep looking at.
And I think with that being said, the 20 hours initially coming to the admin where the mayor has the visibility, he'll be able, since this is a position that is hired by him, to see if that's the need is 20 hours or less, or even more for that matter, correct?
Well, how it was explained to me by the gentleman from the state VA is that it is a federal requirement to maintain their certifications. They have to do 20 hours a week. They have to do at least 20 hours a week. So that's why we figured 20 hours a week. That way that maintains their certification going forward. If it needs to grow beyond that in the future, then we'll reevaluate at the time. But right now, we cannot go below 20 hours.
Amber, what type of training did you have to go through to get certified as a VSO?
Okay, it was an introduction to the different ways that you can help veterans, different things that veterans didn't know about that they can go get help for. We went through pension was a big thing. And Medicare, Medicaid, whether or not a veteran was able to apply for services, whether or not they made too much money for the services. It's a pretty lengthy process. You go through a book, and I'm not sure how long it is now. For me, I think it was 2 weeks worth. That was really crammed. We stayed there for an entire day. So.
And that's at a certain site, not online or anything?
No, that's at a site.
And the cost was paid by the county or by the
By the county.
By the county. Okay. The reason I'm asking is because this is being, of course, streamed and everything. So those that might be interested that are watching, they know what they might be getting into a little bit before they come and talk to the mayor. The mayor puts out the posting for the position. Anything else you can add to what they might be looking for or what you'd have to go through to get certifications and why that's important?
Definitely understanding of Medicaid, Medicare, an understanding of nursing facilities when it comes to putting somebody inside of that, which will probably be learned on the job. A lot of paperwork. It is a lot of paperwork. Just to be able to keep a folder per veteran. I mean, it gets pretty insurmountable amount of paperwork that you have to do for them. Lots of time on the phone, lots of emails, a lot of one-on-one time if they need to be available to go to where the veteran is, if the veteran can't come to them. Monthly training, specialized training. And there's also different categories that you can get into from the training, from people that in their region, they've got groups that they're involved in. So maybe if they're willing to do that, they could learn more there.
Is that primarily in Nashville or where was the training at?
Yeah, it was primarily around Nashville.
All right. I'm a little jump ahead here. Basically opening up any other discussion anybody wants to talk about or any questions or anything?
Yeah, I'd definitely be interested in having a full-time VSO here. I retired in 96, 20% disabled. I need to go back for reevaluation and everything like this. And I'm just finding out from guys at work and everything like this, what all is involved. I mean, there needs to be more of a communication that this is available here. I know my friend went to Crossville, saw the VSO in Crossville, drove all the way there. And he had about a 4-hour visit with him because he was a Vietnam vet. So there was a lot of discussion about Agent Orange, the regions that he was in and everything like this. So I know that if you're going to get a VSO, they need to have a broad experience because the guys in their 70s and 80s now are Vietnam vets, and Agent Orange, stuff like this is would be a concern. So they need to be knowledgeable of what all symptoms to be aware of and all that. And I know that he had a lot of follow-on with the VSO as far as setting up appointments with different doctors and everything like this. So I know it can be a very busy task. And that was just my one friend. So I think it's 20 hours a week once it gets going is going to be adequate. If not, it may need more, you know, as far as training and stuff like that.
Any other discussions?
Jesse. Mayor, earlier you mentioned something about a veterans court. Can you go into a little more detail on what that is?
It's just basically if anybody's charged with a crime and they're a veteran, they have other services. They've already worked with a VSO or VA or somebody like that, that they try to get them some kind of services. So it just separates them from the normal court. They just have that where they have those services available, and you'll have a VSO or somebody there that can say, hey, we're going to help them with this. And they'll try to help them get services and whatnot. And then they can come to report to the court how it's going. So they basically kind of assist the court in keeping that veteran on track. And then at the end of it, they'll maybe get their charges dismissed or whatever, just depending on what charge they got. So it's just to kind of a little assistance to the veterans on that side to separate a little bit from the normal docket.
Thank you.
So I had 2 veterans that I did this with, and both of them slipped through the cracks, and they didn't complete their stuff that they needed to do. And so it's a little frustrating, my experience with trying to do that, because it's a lot of work involved in the many phone calls that you have to call to try to get this veteran help because they are a veteran, and then them not follow through and not do what they promised that they would do. So I've been there. It's a little rough sometimes.
But that falls back on the court then, right? Kind of like a violation of the court order?
Yes.
Yeah.
It does.
Okay. Anything else to that? Next meeting, we want to do Thursdays in May. The third Thursday is the 19th and the fourth one is the 26th. We could tentatively put a date down because once I have the date, I got to check with Amy to make sure nothing else is going on at 6 o'clock here at the courthouse. That's why that blast email is going to be important in case it changes. But is the 19th or 26th any day that's better for somebody or not good for somebody? Better for you? Okay. True. Veterans Day or Memorial Day. Thursday, because you can't do Tuesdays, remember? Yeah. So has anybody got any issues with the May 19th, 6 o'clock? And by then, I'm sure you'll have a posting, Mayor, for the position.
Yes.
Only possible conflicts we're going into our budget season. We may be having to have some budget hearings, but we should know that in time to reschedule if need to be.
Or they can schedule around us.
That is a possibility.
Right. It's taking ownership is all I'm doing. If we get the date first, we get the date first. Okay, so May 19th, 6 p.m., 1,800 of you vets out there, all of us, for the next meeting here. Any public comments? Just come up to the mic and hit that button on the left. You see that red light?
My name is Shirley Chambers. I'm here representing my husband, who is a Navy veteran. I'm from District 2. And I'll come tell you, the lady that's coming over here, the first day that we went in to see her, she asked us point blank, did we know what we were entitled to? We have been to 3 different places, 3 different VSO officers. Not a time had anybody told us what my husband was eligible for. What we were going for is he is in a wheelchair now, and we wanted to know what kind of help that we could get. We were really surprised at the stuff that she came up with that we could have had all this time. For the first thing she said is he could get a card where he could go to visit the facilities. We had never had that. You had to go to get it in Murfreesboro, Nashville. There was no problem. We went in, they took his picture. She told us about, I asked her, my brother-in-law had died of cancer, and they, in Kentucky, where I'm from, they have built a brand new veterans cemetery. It's in southeastern Kentucky, built by the people there. And I had asked her, since my brother-in-law had been put there, and then my sister got killed in a car wreck, and she was put in, they put their ashes in a form. So I asked her if we could talk to them about putting it. She said, that's no problem. She went on, and about 10 minutes, she had it already applied where we could get our box bought for our ashes in Kentucky. We've already got the papers back from the people in Kentucky. Their application is already there. She also told us they have one in Knoxville, where he's from, if we wanted to change our mind and go there. She already had sent him to different facilities that would help take care of what he needed. She spelled out, when we went to the first one, we were given a paper. And we said, okay, what do we do with these? We were told, you fill them out. Okay, we don't know how to fill them out. Well, you just follow the directions. Needless to say, one of the reasons we were having trouble, they were all wrong. Now, that was our fault. We had no idea what we were doing. We just did it the best way. The instructions said he had all these doctor statements and everything like that. We didn't know who we sent them to. We just put them in the envelope, sent them off. So when we went in, she said, well, what have you done? And we told her. She said, well, what happened? I said, I don't know. We didn't know what we were doing. So I have to say, this lady, if we can get somebody that will work with her, she is awesome. She's already got us connected with so many different people to help us with what we need. That I know she'll be good. I've been there when other people came in. We were there when a family came in that had a death. She helped them. I mean, they said, no, we said, well, we'll wait. It's okay. No, they said, it's fine. But she was right there to help them out when they needed her in her time, and she knew what to do. Just like us, we had no idea what we could get. All this time, we've been losing out all these benefits, trying to do it on their own. And when you get so many things wrong with you, you can't, I mean, he's diabetic, you can't afford medicine anymore. She helped us do that. She helped us get the medicine we could get, make sure we got all of it. And I know I'm nervous and I'm sorry, but
You're doing fine.
I was just trying to tell you that this lady, if you have veterans out here, like I said, we've been to her, she told us what to do. We got our paperwork straightened out, and she's really helped us immensely. And she has helped other people. Like I said, we've been there when others have come in, they're waiting. So if she will help train this person, or even if she stays, if you decide you want to keep her, she is absolutely wonderful. I wholeheartedly wish we'd found her when we first started. Then we wouldn't be in such a shape we are now. But she is really good. She's really helped the veterans that have come in to see her. And she is really a whiz at doing all the paperwork you have. She'll sit there and do it in just a few minutes. She knows what she's doing. So, I mean, I'm just here trying to say that we have really hit it lucky when we hit her with the people that she has helped. And if we could get it out more into the community that she is in there, I mean, it's posted on the doors. If we could get it posted some other way, tell the people in your district, have the district, your commissioner, call the people of a family or something. Just their families tell families everything. So if you could do that, that would help out. But she is really great. If anybody does watch this, I hope if you're a veteran and you really need help, or if you're a spouse of a veteran, she'll even tell you what you can get for that. If your husband or wife was military, yes. And I wish my sister would have had it when her husband passed away. She did not know she could get anything. She went to him just like we did. She didn't get anything. And it was just, so I'm just saying, this lady is really good. She's really good, and she really helps, and she knows what it is to be a veteran. And that's all I got to say. If you'll just, if we get it out there, whatever you decide to do, she's wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It helps a lot. Mayor, one quick question for you.
Well,
go
first of
ahead.
all, I'm not up here as a mayor right now. I'm up here as, she's talking about my dad. So I can just say it was a night and day thing when she came in and helped him out. I know he'd been in several places and he was frustrated and he was not getting, the help he needed. So having Miss Gallion there, she is a veteran herself. She's very passionate about helping veterans. And it has been kind of a night and day thing as far as what they were getting. Before, it was quite frankly like talking that wall right there when they went to some places. And Miss Gallion helped them out greatly, got them in, get them assessed. We're starting to get things moving to get him assistance. So like I said, it's been night and day. And I would say the same thing as my mom, that please go to your VSO, see what your benefits are, because you don't know what you're missing out on or your family's missing out on. And unfortunately, I've talked to former VFW Commander David Chambers and some of the issues that come up with. He said, unfortunately, a lot of them, don't get their benefits while they're here. And then after they pass away, their wife or spouse tries to come in and get some benefits and it's almost too late. So if you think you are eligible, come out to the VSO and try to see what they can do for you. So again, like I said, I'm just saying that as the son of a veteran. So I'll step out and assume my position as mayor.
You gotta let us know when you change that hat from mayor to citizen. Now let's get the mayor hat back on. Let me ask you this crystal ball question. We hire a VSO and for whatever reason, they don't work out. how easy will it be to go back to Sumner County with a new MOU? And would they be willing to do that with
Right.
basically no questions?
Right now, I would counsel that instead of canceling MOU outright, let's let her work with them for a little bit. And then maybe ask them if they can cut back or something like that, give us a little bit of trial run to see how they're going, and then either let it terminate on its own in November, or if we want to terminate it a couple months ahead of time. And then that way, I think she'll work with us, and that way you're not getting two payments on that. So that's what I would counsel. I think that's probably the best way to go. And that way, if it doesn't work out, we've already got that in place and we don't have to go back and renegotiate and bring it back for the commission for approval. It's already in place.
So far as the budget goes, say it's 18,000, so you should probably put more in that to kind of maybe have the dual payment for a little bit.
We would put in whatever I guess, again, I can't tell you what that rate's going to be. The whoever comes in may already have VSO experience, and they won't start at this step one. They'll start at whatever commensurate step is. So at that point, we will have to put something in there for the contract service if we're going to leave it in there, but it won't be anything past November because this current MOU expires in November. And if it does work out, then we won't need the MOU extended. If it's not going to work out, we should know sufficiently ahead of time to know we can make some changes by that.
And fiscal year is July 1.
Yes, sir. Starts July 1st.
So July, August, September, October, 4 or 5 months of dual.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody good with that? It sounds good to me. Okay. Anybody got anything else? You hit that button.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. And Ms. Chambers, thank you very much for that. That's super, super, super helpful because that gives us the support from the community, and I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Y'all have a good evening. Be safe going home.